Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And this is another note of thought, just addressing this movement that's going on right now. I like to call it the Kevin Samuels movement, um, or pretty much the man's movement. That's just kind of going around the atmosphere right now. I'm not really gonna really dive into whether something's wrong or right or whatever the case is, but just addressing that this is the climate right now. And it's interesting because what brought upon it was the fact of the dynamics of maybe, I want to say maybe even probably 40 years ago or something around that ballpark range. You had, the family structure, women and men, a certain dynamic that used to kind of always exist where the guy was able to just be a stand-up guy, work hard. The woman would be a very, kind of, you know, lay. I don't want to use the word laid back. I don't want to use the word submissive either because a lot of people don't know really what that means and they take it the wrong way. But just a good girl, whatever quote unquote that means. And the guy would just work hard. The girl would just get with him and they start a family and everything just worked. And then you had a lot of, households being, that ran in a way where you had the dad, you had the mom, you had a lot of siblings. You even had the grandparents who'd come around. You'd have like aunts and uncles who'd watch the kids. The structure of everything was just great. Everything worked great. And this was in the household of all types of families, but specifically a lot of black families, and black includes Hispanic because that is black, just so you know. So, um, but essentially what started happening is you had this kind of, and who knows where it comes from. It obviously started way before social media, but whether it's the club dynamic, whether it's, that whole nightlife bar scene, whatever it was, but it started creating this idea. And I think this also came with the fact that people getting later in their careers started pushing back the line of being young. So 30 became the new 20, 40 became the new 30, which doesn't make sense, but is what started happening. And eventually you got to a point where people just wanted to kind of play longer, and the more that they played, you started destroying this kind of dynamic of just, okay, like a good woman wants to get with a good guy. It just became like, okay, I want to go after the guy that's spicy and fun, which is nothing wrong with that in the dynamic of what you're attracted to. But then also the guy started saying, okay, like, well, we're after that, the kind of person who we know is also after just a fun time and I can spend money on, and then now I get them. So it kind of started equating to, I spend money, I get the girl. The girl's mentality becomes, well, I just want to be, taken care of and spoiled, and that's quote unquote living, the best parts of living. Whatever it is that created this dynamic, I'm not going to pretend that I know the answer to what created this dynamic because I don't. I'm just simply commenting on the climate that's going on right now. And I think that because of that damage that was caused with the family dynamic, this movement out there, the man movement, pro man movement, or Kevin Samuels movement, was, as I like to say it, because after his passing, it seemed to push this a huge explosion into social media, where a lot of other content creators who are you either worked with him or were fans of his content started really pushing their content out harder, and it's this positive movement for men. Now a lot of women look at it as a negative, but it's actually a very huge positive for men. All it is simply saying for the men to stand up for what it is they want. No one says the woman has to choose that, choose to be with someone who's like that, but it's still just giving that confidence to the man, which is kind of similar to what I kind of advocate on my channel, giving that confidence, that power back into the man's hands, and not just run and chase whatever's out there or do things for the wrong reasons. He's got to do life building. He's got to build for himself. He has to have a future for himself. He has to have retirement plans for himself. He has to have, plans for his children, generational wealth. He has to do all that. You don't get that if you're just throwing money out on somebody who is not, doesn't have the same basis plan for you, especially when the dynamics of how they think do not revolve around the family structure type of dynamic. Then there's going to be no such thing as building. There's just going to be spending. And so that's no good. So I think that this movement is a huge positive. It's very important for men. I think women will appreciate it when they relate it to their children who are boys, or they relate it to their brothers and any of their family members that are men, nephews or anything like that. Um, I think they appreciate that. Sometimes they don't appreciate it because when it's gonna take away from what they're gaining in that very moment, there's that selfish aspect that says, well, I want to still gain. So, I don't want to, I want to still be able to have that. I want to have people take me out and spend money on me. So I don't want to say that that's a bad thing when in actuality, I don't want that for my son. I don't want that for whatever, my son to go spending money on some random, person, some random female, and he's just blowing money away and not trying to save for his kids or anything like that. So I know that inherently everyone knows that it's a positive thing. Sometimes they just don't want to admit it when it comes to them losing out for the benefits of themselves. But um, and in another video, I'm going to point out how, you can actually have all these nice, fun, flashy things if you put in the time and people build together. That's how people used to do it, many years back, say 40 years ago or maybe more, where you had a family structure. They put in the time, you put in a lot of good work, solid work of like a good 5 years or 10 years. And then now you're in a place where you can have like a nice car. Both of you can have a nice car, have a nice house. You have money to go spend on vacation, all this stuff. So you can live that life. It's just about having patience. And the part about people just wanting to, jump from one person to the next and this and that. Well, at the end of the day, you just got to kind of realize, uh, go for what you want in the first place, but don't also be, sold by these dreams that you can have any person you want and think that it works like that. There's so much bigger dynamics to it. And I'm not even going to get into all that because as mentioned on a lot of these other channels that go into this topic, you have the kind of whole fairy tale thing where somebody thinks I could get with somebody who, we'll say in the case of female, I can get with some guy who wants to smash me, but he actually doesn't want anything more. But I think now I'm at his level. No, guys break down to two dynamics: girls that they want to just hook up with, and girls they actually want something serious with. And if you base what a guy wants on what he was actually serious with, someone he wants to be serious with, you would realize most of the girls he hooks up with are not even at his level in that regards. This throws a lot of things off. Like I said, I'm not going to dive heavy into that. I'm just reporting the climate of what's going on. One of the other major points that I just mentioned of why this movement is important is because it's actually going to help the dynamic of families a lot better in the long run. When men start sticking up for what they know is right, and then women start going, you know what, like, okay, there aren't just a bunch of, for lack of a better word, suckers to play, simps to play anymore. You know, either you're going to go after the person you want to go with, and maybe he's that overly aggressive alpha, type, all these kind of things, and that's fine. But if you go after him, you go directly after him. You don't build your way through a bunch of simps who you're asking to spend money on you. You're not giving them attention, or you give them a little bit of attention. That part needs to be wiped out. That part needs to be completely wiped out, and you just go for what you want. And once guys start kind of building this sense of male pride in themselves, they'll start going exactly for what they want too. And it won't just be, okay, this female looks attractive, I'm going to go after her, spend money on her and hope I get her. They'll have a sense of, no, you know what? Spending money on a female is not the answer to getting them. Either they like me for who I am or they don't. And in that case, once they have that sense of power and pride, they'll go, I'm only going to go after the ones that I know like me off the bat. Once they put in that time of work, um, then I'll start spending some money on them. But it won't just be spending money on them, because we'll be building together, and that person's gonna care about my finances enough to say, I don't want you just spending on me. I want you to tell me, hey, what better things can we do with that money? Maybe we could save up. Maybe we could do this and that. So, and yeah, that part is obviously comes way later than just a dating phase. But my point is, I digress. That part is still, you don't want to just be in that kind of state of just, I'm just spending money and that's it. And anybody who wants you to do that, they're bad for you to begin with. So I think that this whole man movement is better for families. I think it's better for, obviously it's good for men, but I think it's also really good for women in the long run. And I think that women will, like I said, will appreciate that for their sons. They'll even appreciate it for their daughters, to say that there's like, okay, they just draw a distinct line between going after the guys who are just playing games and the guys who are really good. They always know that they want their daughters to get with the guys who are good. But like I mentioned in a previous video about nice guys and good girls, that sometimes doesn't always work out that way in terms of the way the fairy tale that life used to, show us or present to us. So having a nice guy, but who learns to be firm and learns how to, hold his own, know what he wants, be, I guess you could say, like a semi-alpha male, if you want to say. He doesn't have to be running around grunting all the time and being like, hey, I'm Mr. Sports Player, Mr. Go to the gym every day, but at least be able to say, I know what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want things to be. I know family structure, and it's going to be this way. And I think women would appreciate for their daughters and their young ones to be able to get with guys like that in the future, regardless if it means it's going to take away from their current time of having simps to just pay for them, because that doesn't help society at all. No one wants that in society. So I'm just going to end the video there. Just throwing that out there. Put your comments, like the video, if you guys want to start a discussion on these things. Obviously there's discussions that are going on all over the place right now because this is the climate that we're in right now, but like I said, we're welcome here to just add to the discussion of it all. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. All right, guys.